I grew up living with my grandmother, and she was Mormon. So up until the age of 6, I was Mormon, and then at the age of 6, I met my father, and he was Protestant. And so I was Protestant up until the age of 25. So I had a really good friend of mine. We worked together, and one day she came to me and she said, "Zach, I have a friend and he's trying to become Catholic. How do we keep him in the faith?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, we need to talk about this." And one day I thought, I've only ever been told what Catholics believe by people who disagree with Catholics. Maybe I should go talk to one. And so I went to this evening Vespers and traditional Compline. And one thing that Protestants are told is that Catholics don't read their Bibles. But for this hour and a half long thing, we just sang scripture, and it was beautiful. And I was like, oh my gosh, like Catholics do read their Bibles. And like I said, I was in a Protestant Bible college, so I kind of, during the week, I would talk with my professors and my peers about, hey, what are your thoughts about this? And so they would give me their retorts, and then I would go back to the priest and say, hey, these are my objections. What do you have to say? And so we would talk back and forth, and it was really comforting, that the faith was reasonable and it was thought out. There's people throughout history who have really thought about these things, but I would say the social aspect was the most difficult part was about the last 6 months. And I would have, peers, my best friends, good friends, mocking me and telling me that I was being foolish. And so it truly came to the point of, we all have to count the cost of following Christ in some capacity, and that's very personal to each of us. And so I think the cost that I had to count was, am I willing to lose my friends for the cost of following Jesus? But I do have a lot of friends, one who's converted, 3 who are in the process of coming into the church, and about 3 more who are discerning the church. And so there's been this beautiful ministry of outreach and evangelization. My priest, he's now my spiritual director, he came up to me one day and he said, "Zach, have you considered the priesthood?" And I laughed at him, and I very intentionally said, "No, I have no intention of becoming a priest, and I really don't want to be." And so after that, I was noticing for probably the next couple months that in my prayers and in my spiritual reading times, everything kept being redirected to the priesthood, until one day I was praying and I said, "Lord, I will not do that." And I just felt this pain of disobedience in my heart. And I just pushed it away, and until one day I was so overwhelmed with conviction that I immediately got up and went to confession. And I thought, if I'm going to confession about this, I might need to look into it. So I said, "Lord, I do not want this, but if this is what you want, I'll do it." And so in time, after meeting with my spiritual director and talking with my friends, the Lord changed my heart and began to reframe my understanding of what that meant to be called. So one day at my parish, I was talking to a good friend, and he found out that I was discerning the priesthood, and I said, "Yeah, but I have a lot of student loan debt, so there's some challenges in that." And he said, "Zach, you need to work with the Labouré Society." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll look into it." And he's like, No. You need to look into the Labouré Society." And I was like, "Okay, I'll talk to the vocations director." And he's like, No. I'm going to call them right now. You need to talk to the Labouré Society." And I was like, "Oh, okay, Brian, I'll do it." And I got the opportunity to talk to some of the wonderful staff here. And it was great. They were so affirming and encouraging. And I think the mission really to rescue vocations and the heart behind it is beautiful, and how they welcome you into it and support you through the process.